The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
I begin in the name of the God of Abraham, Ishmael, and Isaac, the God of Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, peace be upon them all. The God who is the most gracious, ever merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace and blessing of God Almighty be upon you all. I'm honored and humbled to stand before you today. As a member of Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Muslims who believe that the Messiah has come, we join together in prayer before our Creator. I will now recite a few verses from the Islamic holy book, the Holy Quran. All praise belongs to God, Lord of the worlds, the gracious, the merciful, Master of the day of judgment. You alone do we worship, and you alone do we ask for help. Guide us on the right path, the path of those on whom you have bestowed your blessings, those who have not incurred your displeasure, and those who have not gone astray. O ye who believe, be steadfast in the cause of Allah, bearing witness in justice, and let not a people's hostility incite you to act otherwise than with justice. Be always just, that is nearer to righteousness, and fear God, surely God is aware of what you do. O our Lord, do not punish us if we forget or fall into error. Our Lord, burden us not with what we have not the strength to bear, and remove our sins and grant us forgiveness and have mercy on us. Surely you are our Master. Amen.
The chaplain for today is Dr. Kamal Ahmed, Director of Public Affairs for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community, Minnesota Chapter, Nusrat Mosque in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will take the roll. Will the chief clerk please call the name of the member who is participating remotely?
Hollins.
Hollins present.
Hollins present.
The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. Are we? Without objection, we will proceed to the item of business announcements. The member from Dakota, Representative Hansen, for the purpose of making an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yesterday, an unspeakable tragedy struck our community in Burnsville when 2 police officers and a paramedic were fatally shot and another wounded while responding to a call for help from a family with 7 children who were in immediate danger in their home. These calls, as we know, are some of the most dangerous situations for our public safety teams to respond to. But they do so every day and put their lives on the line to protect our children, our neighbors, and our community, just like our officers and paramedics did this weekend. But unfortunately, these heroes lost their lives doing just that. Our city is reeling from these profound losses, and we stand here today in support of the public servants who made the ultimate sacrifice in support of our community. We stand here today in support of their families and in solidarity with everyone who was touched by this tragedy. So from the bottom of my heart, from everyone in Burnsville, we'd like to say thank you all for your kind words. Thank you for taking the time today to share in our grief and to show our community the compassion we need as we heal this tragic loss. Thank you, Speaker.
The member from Dakota, Representative Ryer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is truly a traumatizing and tragic time for my community, and I thank you all for your attention. Our hearts ache for Officer Paul Elmstrand, Officer Matthew Ruge, both of whom were just 27 years old, and Adam Finseth, a firefighter and paramedic who was only 40 years old. All 3 were dearly valued members of the Burnsville family. Officer Elmstrand joined the Burnsville Police Department in 2017, and Officer Ruge served our city since 2019. Firefighter paramedic Finseth had been with the Burnsville Fire Department since 2019 after serving as a firefighter in Hastings and Savage. We also want to hold Sergeant Adam Medlicott, who was injured in the tragedy, in our thoughts as well, and we've heard now that he's been released from the hospital. We send our deepest condolences to their families and loved ones. They were neighbors who dedicated their lives to keeping our community safe, and their loss is greatly felt.
The member from Dakota, Representative Whitty.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you for this opportunity. As someone who put on the Burnsville PD uniform for 27 years of my life, yesterday's news hits particularly hard. It's a real hard day for our Burnsville family. 3 heroes made the ultimate sacrifice for the Burnsville community. Our police officers and medics and fire, they come to work every day. They do it willingly to protect and serve our communities, knowing that they may have to give up their life for a partner or the community. And if you're not in the profession, you can't understand. The goal is to go home to their families. Please keep our heroes, their families, our public safety community, and the city of Burnsville in your thoughts and prayers. Please take the time to thank our police officers and fire personnel. They are all hurting and can use the support and strength. Thank you.
The member from Dakota, Representative Berg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Sorry. Our community is heartbroken. The unthinkable happened yesterday when we lost 3 of our own and another was wounded. Multiple families broken and suffering. Each of them were deeply invested in our community. They were loved and will be forever missed. In Burnsville, our first responders are the best of the best, a model of how law enforcement and service to our collective community should be done. We will lean on each other in the coming days for healing, for love, and for hope, because that is who we are as a community. To our fallen heroes, we honor you. Have endless gratitude for you and are forever in your debt. Madam Speaker, I ask for a moment of silence to honor their sacrifice, to recognize our law enforcement and first responders whose bravery and heroism keep our community safe every day. Thank you.
Members, please rise for a moment of silence. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 93rd Session, 2024, 81st day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Thursday, February 15th, 2024.
If there is no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Reports of standing committees and divisions. A copy of this order of business is at your desk and online. If there is no objection, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading House File number 1064.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 3447.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 3466.
Second reading.
Second reading House File 3520.
Second reading.
And second reading House File 3554.
Second reading. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The chief clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 3894 through 4025.
First reading House files 3894 through 4025. Report from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration.
Long from the Committee on Rules and Legislative Administration, pursuant to Rules 1.21 and 3.33, designates the following bill to be placed on the calendar for the day for Monday, February 19th, 2024, and establishes a pre-filing requirement for amendments offered to the following bill, House File number 2757.
Calendar for the day. The first bill on the calendar for the day is House File 2757. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 2757, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to taxation, the first engrossment.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Gomez, who will explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House File 2757 is the tax corrections bill. It does three things. First, it updates the tax year 2024 standard deduction amounts in statute to reflect inflation adjustments since tax year 2019. This is a technical fix to ensure that the standard deduction works as it should for the 90+% of filers who use it. Second, it aligns the definition of tribal nation in the statewide local affordable housing aid with the definition used in the general tribal nation aid program that we passed last year. This change would make sure that any of the 11 federally recognized tribes in Minnesota are able to apply for that local housing aid should they wish to. Third, it amends the local sales tax authorization for Beltrami County to allow the tax to be approved by voters at a special election that was held on November 7th, 2023, rather than requiring that it happen during a regular election, as stated in statute. And Madam Speaker, that's the bill. I look forward to a good discussion with everybody.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Joy moves to amend House File Number 2757, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A11.
The member from Clay, Representative Joy, to explain your amendment.
Thank you, Mrs. Speaker. This amendment would fix the NOL deduction error and pay for it by prohibiting the film production credit from being claimed in the tax year 2023 and 2024. Uses money from those years to offset the cost of the $15 million NOL deduction error that is being left in the 2023 tax bill.
Is there any further discussion? The member for Hennepin, Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would urge a no vote on this amendment. So just to get into the NOL issue, in the 2023 tax bill, we made changes to how businesses account for net operating losses. Our intention was for that change to go into place for tax year 2024. Instead, the language put it in place for tax year 2023, which impacts this year's tax filing season already underway. I explained this in a couple committees, but Chair Rest and I sent a letter on June 27th to the Department of Revenue and MMB asking to see if we could just implement it without changing legislation, if we could do the fix without passing a new law, which due to the timing of the current tax season, they were unable to do. Because of that timing, and since fixing this would have a fiscal impact, and our financial picture as a state has changed from when we wrote our letter in June to the November forecast, and with the February forecast due in a couple weeks, we're waiting until then, until after the February forecast, to make decisions that substantially impact the budget. Also, I just want to mention that Chair Lislegard is the chief author of House File 3769, which is a fix to the NOL that changes it to be implemented the way it was originally intended. The Senate tax chair is carrying the companion legislation in the Senate. We are serious about fixing this. We need to wait until after the February forecast. So regardless of, using current programs to pay for it, it still kind of needs to go into the larger conversation about budget that will begin in earnest after that February forecast. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, I would urge members to vote no on this amendment.
Any further discussion? The member from Clay, Representative Joy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If Mrs. Gomez or Representative Gomez yield for a question.
Representative Gomez will yield for a question. Representative Joy.
What has changed? What has changed in this forecasting? What has changed?
Representative Gomez.
From when the letter was written.
Madam Speaker, Representative Joy, I've been called a lot of things in my life, never Mrs. Gomez yet, but gal can dream, I guess. So what has changed? I think if we wanted to go into, any kind of deep conversation about what changed in the November forecast, I'm probably not the right person to explain it. I guess what I would say is the balance between the money we're spending and the money we're collecting is different than it was in June 27th, which means that the money, what we thought would be in our coffers and going out of them changed. And we get the forecast in November and in February. So when we actually had a complete picture of that in November, it was evident that it wasn't going to be as easy to find $15 million as we may have suspected. Representative Joy, if you have kind of deeper questions about the forecast and the changes in our financial picture between June and November, I might ask you to ask our Ways and Means Chair to yield if you need to get into the details. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Joy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So we had a $17.5 billion surplus last year, and we raised taxes by $10 million. $10 billion, sorry. They may have seemed like the DFL raised tax on everybody last year. They were able to provide tax relief for Hollywood executives. That's a problem to me. This is something that's hurting Main Street businesses. I think we need to get this fixed now and focus on helping Main Street businesses and our business communities in Minnesota and not focusing on what Hollywood elites want. We need to focus on this here, and I demand this get fixed now. We need to take this now, and I demand a roll, or not demand, I request a roll call.
A roll call has been requested. Seeing 15 hands, we will have a roll call. Any further discussion? Being there is no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call on the the member voting remotely.
Hollins.
That's you. Go ahead.
Hollins, no.
Hollins votes no.
The clerk will close the roll. I know. There being 59 yeas and 71 nays, the motion does not prevail. The clerk will report the next amendment.
Davids moves to amend House File Number 2757, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A4.
I recognize the author, Representative Davids, who will explain the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank Chair Gomez for her work on this bill overall. And she was very succinct in her opening comments. She said it does three things. Takes care of the standard deduction. That was the big oops, $307 million. and takes care of the tribal aid for housing. Sounds good to me. And then the Beltrami County jail situation, which I'm very glad that Chair Gomez has agreed to that. But the problem is, if you look at the letter that was passed out from Representative Gomez and Chair Rest, and go to the last paragraph, what does it say? It says, we will pursue legislation at the earliest possible opportunity to correct the effective date for this provision. Well, I don't see where it says anywhere there, and maybe members help me out here, where it says accept the NOLs. I missed that one, I guess. So what this amendment does is it helps our chairs keep their word. Now, what has actually happened here is the governor's office has come down pretty hard on the two chairs, saying that they don't want this provision there. So they have to wait till the February forecast. I don't really understand what that has to do with anything. But the letter from the two chairs, I mean, at one time, many years ago, I used to write these letters. And they're supposed to mean something. But apparently today, they mean nothing. Members, the House and Senate are a co-equal branch of government, thanks to, we all know that now, thanks to Representative Erdahl's civics bill. We are not a subdivision of the executive branch. We are not a division of the executive branch. I do not understand for the life of me, when this first came to my attention, I had some very good conversations with the chair, and I said, we could play some games here, but let's not do that. Let's just get it done. Well, members, we have three things that have been taken care of here, or will be taken care of when this becomes law. But we're missing one that's very, very important. And as we've seen, we will pursue legislation at the earliest possible opportunity to correct the effective date. The earliest possible opportunity is right now. And why is this important? Many businesses, as we heard in committee the other day, we had Commissioner Marquardt there, many businesses have not filed their taxes yet. If we take care of this, they will not have to file amended returns, which can be very, very expensive. And there is no reason that we should not be doing this now. And as Mrs. Blakeslee, my sixth grade teacher, would say, Gregory, today is the day. Vote for the Davids Amendment.
Is there any discussion on the amendment?
Madam Speaker, I'd request a roll call.
A roll call has been requested. Are there 15 hands? Seeing there are 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will... the member from Hennepin, Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Davids, for your work on this and for just working with me on the corrections bill overall and being gracious about us fixing the errors when it first came up earlier in the summer. As I've said, we do want to fix this. We want to do so in a way that respects the realities of our budget, which has changed. We're 2 weeks away from the February forecast. If we're going to make a $15 million decision, then we can just wait the 2 weeks. I would urge members to vote no on this. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll.
Clerk will call the name of the member voting remotely.
The clerk will call the name of the member voting remotely.
Hollins.
Go ahead.
Collins, no.
Hollins votes no.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 61 yeas and 69 nays, the motion does not prevail. Gotta get used to that. There's another amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Swazinski moves to amend House Bill number 2757, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A5.
The member from Lyons, my apologies, I couldn't see your county. Representative Swazinski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. The A5 amendment is a pretty straightforward amendment. We've had a lot of issues when visiting our constituents back in our districts. And, one of the questions I frequently get asked is, what are Democrats thinking? They, raise taxes by $10 billion. They're essentially, spending like drunken sailors. And some of the issues that we see, that's not the case. They might be slightly buzz sailors because we have a lot of breweries that are closing down across the state because of lack of sales. The pandemic has done a real number on a lot of those very basic businesses that are in a lot of our districts. We've got a whole list of breweries that have closed down across the state. We have Twin Spirits Distillery in Minneapolis, Lawless Distilling, Dangerous Man Distilling, Lakes and Legends, Royal Foundry, Clutch Brewing, East Lake, Lawless and Dangerous. They're closed. They're not necessarily closed down, but they closed their tap rooms. And this amendment really is really targeted. And what it does is focus the dollars, the $14 or $15 million, to help out these businesses that have really seen a decline in sales. And that's a decline in the economy, spending money, with the prices going up, enjoyment and libations go down. And, how do we want to focus our focus? And the amendments that are lying before us, members, really are straightforward in the fact that, Minnesota has a job to do. We have priorities to make. Some folks prioritize Monday. Other members and other businesses and other people prioritize Friday when it comes to their week, how they prepare themselves and what they do. We were told by the chair that this $15 million is just, we really need to be watchful over the state budget. We said in 2 weeks, 2 short weeks, we'll have the February forecast will be before us, and we need to make our decisions after that and how we affect. And what this amendment does is just very simply say, we've got a group of businesses here in the metro, rural Minnesota, that are hurting. And let's focus those dollars in a very fundamental way to these businesses. I represent Granite Falls. Have anyone visited Granite Falls? Andrew Volstad is from Granite Falls. He'd be kind of what most folks would consider hand in hand with, banning the sale of alcohol in the U.S. The Volstad Act. And we know that didn't work. But the Biden economy that lays before us has closed down more breweries in the state of Minnesota than I think arguably the Volstad Act did. Here's just a small amendment so that we don't make that same mistake again. Members, the A9 or A5, the A9 is coming, I think is an important focuser. It keeps us honed in to say, government out of control can hurt. Doesn't matter how many tax breaks you give to folks that don't pay taxes. If we want businesses to survive and thrive in the state of Minnesota, if we want a brewery, a local brewery that has a tap room, that has a little business, that's shoving a little bit of vitality into our neighborhood, when even those businesses can't keep up, can't make it work, let's be like lasers and focus a little relief on those businesses. We have opportunity here, members. The A9 amendment, I think, has an opportunity to potentially to go outside the bounds a little bit on this particular bill that lies before us, because I think the $15 million maybe shouldn't be just spread to a few, but to business owners across the state. And so I will pull this amendment. We appreciate your time.
Representative Swedzinski withdraws his amendment. There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Swedzinski moves to amend House Bill number 2757, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A9.
The member from Lyon, Representative Swedzinski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, members. The A9 amendment really, I think, just gets past some of the arguments we made. Maybe we should have pulled the A5 to begin with, and really spreads the tax credit really across the state of Minnesota. And what it does is instructs the department to focus these dollars across the state to businesses that need them. So folks that can be given some relief when they absolutely need it. You know, we've seen a lot of tax raisers, and as the DFL majority like to call them, revenue raisers, tax increases. By not taking the Davis Amendment, one of the first things we heard from the governor was saying, you know what, I really don't see a need for tax increases this session. By not taking the Davis Amendment, we've really put a little egg on the governor's face. Because one of the first bills that he signs, I would view, and it's a humble view, would be raising taxes on business. Like, this isn't a partisan issue. We understand that businesses are struggling. We understand that one of the parties in this room likes to treat businesses as a second-class citizen. That, you know what? What's good for thee is not good for thee. The $350 million that's funded in this bill is good for thee. But when it comes to the businesses that are going to be affected in a negative way, not positive, negative, by the exclusion of the thee part, is unfortunate. And having egg on the face of the governor is, I'm not looking to do that. I think the David's amendment would have helped with that, but this amendment really helps take a burden in a very timely manner off businesses across the state. $15 million, while the chair says that's a lot of money and we need to protect it because we don't know what kind of condition the Biden economy is going to leave us with in the February forecast. I mean, drive in here. I think last week, at the end of the week, gas was, I think, $2.95. On the drive back up to St. Paul here on Monday, $3.19, $3.25. That's going the wrong direction. That's going the wrong direction. You know, one of the stories we hear over and over again from gas stations and municipal liquor stores and bars is that when the price of gas goes up, people are less likely to buy lotto tickets. And one of the other things they play a lot less of is video lottery. And the revenue for video lottery goes down. And I understand what the majority decided to do last session was to vastly attack our local groups that use that as a funder for affecting our small organizations across the state. So just while driving the cost of doing business up, by not giving the tax relief that they desperately need, this $15 million that the state says, you know what, that money belongs to me, not thee, Mr. Business Owner, and job creators, and taking tools for local units, local charitable organizations away from them, like video lottery, and changing and pulling the rug out right from their eyes for special interests. We get it. We get it. Please vote for the amendment.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Gomez.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Man, I'm really bummed out that you withdrew the beer amendment, Representative Spedzinski. We could have had a good conversation about that, but I'll move on to this next one. So first of all, I actually want to fix the NOL issue. I want to fix it. I've said that over and over on the record. So the idea that we would take money that we're collecting on the NOL issue and spend it on this totally undefined small business tax credit program where you really just say, hey, DOR, figure out a way to give this money out with very little specification or program design or thought put into it. It's confusing to me a little bit. I guess I see conceptually the point you're making, but I actually want us to be serious about having the tax bill go into effect in the way that it was intended. And so if we're able to do that, and I hope we are, we're not going to have $14.8 million sitting around to spend on this ill-defined program. Second of all, I want to talk about the allegation, I don't know exactly how to characterize it, that the DFL treats businesses like second-class citizens. You've been around and you've been on the tax committee the whole time, but I want to remind you a little bit about what we have done in the tax committee in the time that Speaker Hortman has been our speaker since 2019. In 2020 through 2022, the largest tax cuts in each of those tax bills went to businesses. In 2020, during the fifth special session in October, the full Section 179 expensing was passed. $89 million tax cut the first year. It was the only tax spending item in that tax bonding bill, you'll recall. A huge tax cut for business owners and for farmers specifically. In 2021, we did the full PPP exclusion for businesses, $454 million in tax cuts for businesses. We did the pass-through entity SALT workaround, providing about $200 million in annual federal tax cuts for Minnesota businesses. In 2022, the state replenished the UI trust fund at a cost of $2.7 billion. Businesses would have had to pay that if we hadn't done that. So that's $3.5 billion in business tax cuts. This allegation that we don't care about businesses, that we don't care about commerce is just is contradicted by the facts. I can't think of any second-class citizen, as you characterize them, who over the course of 4 years got $3.5 billion in tax cuts. Show them to me, please. I want to meet them. I would urge all members to vote no on this amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further discussion. Representative Spedzinski. I think you're the only one, sir. Representative Spudzinski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I appreciate Chair Gomez. I appreciate the listing of what the government did do in partial last session and years before. But one of the things, when we see a letter like this to say, you know what, we want to fix and we're committed to fixing this, one of the things we also heard was the governor and others say, you know what we'd like to do is cut state taxes on Social Security. And what fell woefully short? We did the math. 350,000 people are still paying Social Security tax in the state of Minnesota, at least. And there was a letter, something like that, too, that said, you know what? I promise to get rid of Social Security taxes in the state of Minnesota, except for all these other people. That didn't say that. It just said, I want to get rid of it. We have Minnesotans, legislators, one of the highest corporate tax rates in the country. Number one. Number one, we have more government regulation, more government mandates placed upon businesses than probably any other state in the nation in the last 12 months. Raising taxes, raising regulation, empowering state government to run our lives and acting as a wedge between the employees that we care about and the employers who we also care about. Driving a wedge between those relationships that are so important, that we care so much about. The state of Minnesota knows best. The state of Minnesota knows how to spend that $15 million best. The state of Minnesota knows how to spend your Social Security dollars that you worked all your life for best. Want to help Junior pay for a new pair of cleats, a new baseball bat, a new glove? Nope, we know best. Want to buy hockey equipment for your local community? Nope, we know best. Folks, at some point, we as legislatures can just ease off the we knows best attitude and say, you know what, folks, you that earned it, you keep it. You that started that small business and want just a hair bit of relief, $15 million, just a hair bit of relief, you spend it better than we do. I've worked really hard at being humble. I've come a long way in the last 6 months. It's not an easy road. And I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm asking you. Do what's best for your district. If we wanted to take up the Davids Amendment again, if we could do that and just, I agree, the Davids Amendment is 10 times better than this. But this is just a small bit of humility to say, you know what, maybe somebody else can spend the better than St. Paul. Somebody else can maybe do it. Give it back to those that earned it. Give them a little credit where credit's due. I'd ask for a roll call.
Representative Spudzinski requests a roll call. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Representative Spudzinski.
Thank you, and I'd ask for a green vote.
Discussion. Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I sort of a gesture that I wanted to be taken off the list, but I just wanted to say it feels like, despite the fact that we've had the entire spaghetti dish of criticisms of our tax bill thrown against the wall, we're not really engaging in a substantive discussion here. So I would just urge a red vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the amendment. Will the chief clerk please call on the member who is voting remotely?
Hollins.
No.
Hollins votes no.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 60 ayes and 70 nays, the motion does not prevail. The amendment is not adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 2757.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. Discussion to the bill. The member from Fillmore, Representative Davids.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I guess 3 out of 4 maybe isn't so bad, but it is kind of really. I'm supporting the 3. I'm supporting the bill. I hope that board lights up all green in a couple minutes here. It depends on how long the chair's speech is going to be. But let's light that board up green. And the NOL issue is not just going away. I'm going to be pushing on that every day, and we need to get that done. The sooner the better. We should have done it today. Save a lot of people a lot of money on amended tax returns. If there's one thing I don't like, it's an amended tax return, and we could have avoided that for many, many businesses today. But I hope members today can vote green on this fix, and I thank Chair Gomez for working on the 3. Now we just have to get the 4th. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Stearns, Representative Damuth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, I am grateful that we are here in this body today addressing the standard deduction piece, but the decision to break a promise and leave out the net operating loss represents what I consider a series of broken promises. We've heard from the majority as far as the things that were done over the last few years for businesses, but I just want to walk you back a little bit in history. So last session, again, we heard that there would be that final elimination of tax on Social Security, as you heard from my colleague earlier. That didn't happen. It was a partial, but it wasn't a full elimination of tax on Social Security. We also heard, thinking of an $18 billion surplus, that Minnesotans were going to receive $2,000 checks. That did not happen. There was a very small amount of Minnesotans that received $260 checks, and yet they get to pay federal taxes on those. Today, we are breaking a promise in this body that was made by the 2 tax chairs, committing to fix that net operating loss provision at the earliest possible opportunity. Well, members, today is the earliest possible opportunity to fix that. Without fixing the net operating loss provision, that is actually going to be a tax increase of $15 million on our small businesses. Now, again, I am happy to see that we are saving taxpayers from the $350 million mistake. But there is absolutely no reason to have left the NOL, the net operating loss provision, left out on a to-do list, waiting for the February forecast. As you heard the question asked earlier in this body, what would change between November and February? We didn't get an answer to that, but there is no reason to leave that undone. So today, again, the earliest possible opportunity for Minnesotans was promised, but instead, we're going to keep taxing the hardworking businesses, and they can cross their fingers and hope that this will get done or addressed later in session. We did hear that in the past, we did give PPP relief. We also heard that there was relief for Section 179. But I want to remind members in this chamber, that was due to Republicans pushing for those tax fixes on PPP and Section 179. Democrats in this body could give our businesses certainty and fix this like they promised, but once again, we are proving why Minnesota is not a friendly place to do business. The cumulative impact on our businesses, the mandates, the tax increases, and the uncertainty that we create for our job creators All of this has real world impact that makes life more expensive for Minnesota families. And it is irresponsible not to take this opportunity to fix it now. So you might be wondering, members, what I'm going to encourage members of this body to vote. This is not a complete bill, but at this point we will take what we have. Members, I would encourage a green vote on this bill, but then I would ask that you would join me in working to reduce the burden on Minnesota family budgets and eliminating massive tax increases that have been inflicted on Minnesotans over the last year. Members, please vote green.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Will the clerk please call the name of the member who's voting remotely?
Hollins.
Go ahead.
Hollins votes yes.
Hollins votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 128 ayes and 2 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Motions and resolutions. There's copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we'll take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail.
Hudella moves that House File Number 1666 be recalled from the Committee on Health, Finance, and Policy and be re-referred to the Committee on Veterans and Military Affairs, Finance, and Policy.
The member from Dakota, Representative Hudella.
Madam Speaker, members, I've been working with Chair Liebling and Chair Newton to move this bill back to veterans. The bill itself would allow for county veteran service officers to pull county records at no cost, so it shouldn't have any impact on state records, state vital statistics. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Katiza-Watun moves that House File Number 3733 be recalled from the Committee on Children and Families, Finance, and Policy and be re-referred to the Committee on Taxes.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Katiza-Watun.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion. This bill impacts tax disclosure for eligibility verification to the future Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And after discussion with both chairs, we believe this language should be sent to taxes. Thank you.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Robbins moves that the rules of the House be so far suspended so that House File Number 3769 be recalled from the Committee on Taxes, be given its second and third readings, and be placed upon its final passage.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Robbins.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I rise today. Before I forget, I'd like to request a roll call.
Representative Robbins requests a roll call. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to declare an urgency and bring forward Representative Lislegard's Bill 3769. As we just had the long discussion over the net operating loss provisions that were not included in the tax bill we just fixed, I really want to impress on the body what an urgency this is. We have the fix available. It is brought forward by one of your members, and it honestly is stunning to me that we didn't do it when we had the amendment discussion a few minutes ago. So members, here's what's going on. There were 4 mistakes in the tax bill. 3 of them were corrected. The one we didn't correct costs $15 million, and it would stop this extra tax increase on Minnesota businesses. Last session, there were $600 million of tax increases on Minnesota businesses. And part of that was changing how we treat net operating losses in the state of Minnesota. Previous to last year's tax bill, how it worked is you could deduct 80% of your net operating losses over 5 years. This is so important for small businesses members. We had Black Entrepreneur Day at the Capitol here last Friday. This is how entrepreneurs get on their feet. When they have a loss, it's not realized in the right year that the loss happens. They're allowed to take it over 5 years so that they get a little chance to get going. That's what this is about. Federal law says you can take an 80% net operating loss. State law used to say 80%, but as part of the tax increases on businesses last year, we moved the 80% to 70%. So we're already increasing taxes on businesses by lowering what they can take as their net operating loss. But it was intended to take effect for tax year 24, not tax year 2023. That's acknowledged by the chair, that's acknowledged in writing in the handout we passed out. Everyone intended for that to happen in 2024, and it was an honest mistake. So here we have today the first opportunity to fix it, and we are turning it down, members, because we say we have to wait for the February forecast. Well, I just have to address this because it's making me crazy. The February forecast did not acknowledge the $350 million standard deduction error. It was kept off the books on purpose by the leaders of the House and Senate so that it would not have to be acknowledged. If that was an accounting error that happened in a private business, they would have serious consequences. But there was an agreement to keep it off the books, and that's what happened, and they kept this one on the books, $15 million, okay? So we already we were able to fix the $350 million standard deduction error because we kept it off the books. That's terrible. But this one was kept on the books, and so now we claim because we don't have the February forecast, we can't fix it. Members, here's what we just got from the fiscal department last February 12th. The general fund shows $313 million over the February forecast as of February 12th. So we know there's more money going to be shown in the current fiscal year, for the current fiscal year, than we had in November, $313 million more. So why we can't take $15 million and fix it now and give our businesses some certainty, I'm stunned. I am stunned, members. So I'm bringing forward Representative Lislegard's bill to try and make it right today. But certainty is so important for small businesses. I know you all know that. Those of you who run small businesses or work with the chambers in your district, you know how important certainty is. Businesses have been relying on the letter dated June 27th from both chairs saying this would be fixed at the earliest opportunity. They've also been relying on a notice that went out from the Department of Revenue saying that this would be fixed. And the Department of Revenue's website still says that. So the public is relying on us to get this done. And as has already been talked about, people have filed their amended return or have filed their returns, and now it's going to take an amended return to fix this. If we do it today, fewer people will have to file the amended return. If we wait 2 weeks or if we wait till the end of session, that cost is real. Sometimes it can cost $1,000 or more to a small business to file an amendment. That's a real cost. And again, they won't have the certainty. Members, the business community is asking us to fix this. It was our mistake, and we should handle it. There's money in the budget. I just showed you what the forecast showed from January. Please, I urge you to take up the Lislegard bill, declare the urgency, and let's get this off our plate as a legislature today. Thank you, members.
Discussion to the motion. Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Robbins. We kind of just had a long discussion about this. We can take another vote on it. I would urge members to vote no.
Any further discussion? Representative Robbins.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would would Representative Lislegard yield to a question?
He's not on the floor, Representative Robbins.
Oh, well, that's
Members.
disappointing.
Please try to observe the decorum of the institution within which we serve. Representative Robbins.
Thank you. Well, if Representative Lislegard was here, I was going to ask if he would support joining me in this, since this is his bill, and I know he does care about it. And I know that Chair Gomez also cares, and she has given her word that she wants to see this fixed, and I'm grateful for that, Chair Gomez. But uncertainty for businesses is devastating, and we keep kicking the can down the road, and it keeps hurting small businesses when we know we could deal with it today. So members, I ask you to support me in this urgency. Please vote green.
The clerk will take the roll on the motion. The clerk will call on the member voting remotely.
Hollins.
Hollins, no.
Hollins votes no.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 61 ayes and 69 nays, the motion does not prevail. Announcements, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, on behalf of the St. Paul delegation, including Representative Finke, Representative Hussein, Representative Herr, Hollins, Lee, L, Perez Vega, and Zhang, I want to make sure that you recognize you're cordially invited to the welcome back reception tomorrow evening. That is members and also staff. And you can register at the link that we sent to reserve some skates for opportunities there. So please join us tomorrow evening, and we're so happy to have you back in St. Paul. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further announcements. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 3:30 p.m. Thursday, February 22nd, 2024.
Representative Long moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 3:30 Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Long moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 3:30 p.m. Thursday, February 22nd, 2024.